I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is all the skies 10 to the mods. Now, I've got some pretty big plans for today, as we are going to dive into a mod that I've used just a little bit, and that is going to be the Oritech mod. Yes, it's fairly new, and I've only dabbled in it just a little bit, playing around with this power in another mod pack that I played called FTB Ocean Block. And when I say it's new, it is very new, especially to me, as I've only, like I said, dabbled in it just a little bit, but it definitely gives off some automation vibes where you kind of want to passively automate just about everything. I mean, similar to how modern industrialization sort of handles things. In my progression here, I was taking a look at some of the things needed for the All the Mods star, and the superconductor is one of those things. The Manhattan module is also another one of those things. And I was diving into these recipes that are required for each of these. They require an assembler, for example. Not too bad. Getting Duraplast sheets, honestly, not that bad either. It just requires these multi-stage processes where you're going to need these machines sort of lined up and producing these basic components and constantly keeping them in supply. Whole thing is, getting into the Oritech mod, if you're familiar with Satisfactory, it has some really satisfying animations whenever you get these machines up and running. I will need to get a lot of crafting recipes set up before we can actually get this started, but most of these things, as you can see, are just simply craftable, like making a motor, right? We'll be able to make a motor. Yes, you can make it in an assembler, but when we have unlimited ingredients like we currently have, it totally makes sense just to simply craft these recipes. Now, also, since I'm going to dive into this a little bit, I decided, you know what, how about we make ourselves an ender cell? This is going to make life a little bit easier for me. And then I also want to make a single energy cell just to give it as its buffer. You could also use a battery, I think. And yeah, we can set it alongside our network. I mean, we can place it, I think right here would be good, but you need an ender cell. The ender cell, you then shift right click the energy cell into it. You give it the buffer on top. You go ahead, and I'm going to actually bypass limit here because we want to be able to send at least 2 million to it. And when I do this, 2 million FE is now going to be transferred into this constantly. But the cool part is I can now, with Flux Networks, or sorry, with Power, I can now grab out like some ender gates and have those made real quick. And these are going to work the same way as the points. However, I am limited to a total network transfer rate of 2 million, but I mean, that's a lot for most things. And anything else that doesn't require a point, I'm going to be able to use these. Also less configuration. I can quite literally just slap it on the side of the machine, and I don't have to open any GUI or anything. It's just going to send whatever power these can send. So I guess right off the bat, let's hook up carbon tubes and make sure we have a constant supply going into here. And we can use, I think a mechanism crusher wouldn't be a bad idea. Having this constantly produced, we can use Applied Energistics to send the raw resources to this. And we may be able to create multiple of them because I don't know how many we're going to need. I'm gonna designate like this area right here for carbon tubes. We can have this area over here designated to plastic sheets, and also the biomass. This one possibly dedicated to the endurance compound, and then we might have this area over here for the fluxite. Now, when placing this machine down, it's not quite filled because we actually have to fill it with a machine frame. And we have a bunch of different options getting started. We have a primitive, we also have the basic, and we have the improved. Now, the improved uses nickel, but when we go up to the advanced tier, that's where it requires that endurance compound. And we're not just there, but what it does is it allows more add-ons, as it says, to be connected to the system. So getting started, just using improved is probably going to be more than enough. I'm going to make several of those for right now. And then we just click that directly on top. And once we have it on there, we right click again, and it forms this really awesome multi-block. Look at that thing. And it does have some really cool animations when they're actively running as well. So this looks like a plugin. This looks like a plugin. And if we open up the GUI here, we see that it does need power, and it is going to accept regular power. And when I slap that on there, you notice the power has now been filled. And yeah, it uses a little bit of power here. Now, inputting into this is a little bit different. We should be able to just send to it from any side. I'm assuming the bottom also we can send into it. But as of right now, this is what it looks like. Add-ons, we can add on to the side. You can see where the plugin port is where we can technically add an add-on, and we're going to need that here in a second. Now, back at the base, I want to add a new pattern for making coal dust, and then we can just use an exporter to send that from here to there. Think I can get away with possibly using an import-export bus, but I am unsure with this. So I was thinking though, instead of sending this into my storage system, it might be better just to house it in a drawer, and I could just use a pipe and just use a regular exporter on this. So something like this, right? Where we have the items going in and we can use like the item pipes from the mod itself. And I'm using the transparent version so we can see this. And we should be able to right click, I think, on the side here. No, is that not how we do it? Shift right click maybe? Oh boy. Shift right click pops it off. I mean, we should be able to right click. Oh, is this where we just use our fist? We might actually just use our fist here. That's right. There we go. And notice that just transferred all those items into here. Perfect. Now, when it comes to making the plastic sheets, I mean, we are going to need a add-on. So this will be our first introduction to that. So fluid add-on is what's needed. We need those carbon fiber tubes that we just made up. And let's see. I will lock this. Then we'll add this to our drawer network. There we go. So now we can access these directly inside of our Applied Logistics storage. Beautiful. All right. So fluid add-on, we need 4 of them. Each one of these is going to be needed. And I did make some fluid pipes here. And this whole process, all of them are going to require this. Now, I think I want to set up the first one as like my basic configuration. And then we'll basically duplicate it here on the other side. And I'm not sure, is this the direction that I want it facing? We're going to have to see. So the fluid add-on goes back here, but only after we've assembled the machine. So let's place the casing on here. Please add the missing core block. So shift right click. That gets added. And then on the back, we add the fluid module. And this should be where we send in fluid to this machine. And then on here, we can send power. Honestly, we can probably send power to any part of the machine. I bet we can even send power directly through the roof. Yeah, we can. So now I'm trying to figure out, let's see. I mean, if I do feed this fluid and I want to keep this inside this area, how should I go about doing this? I think I've come up with a configuration for this that's probably going to work out really well. We have them kind of fluidized from the outside. And yes, you don't actually send fluid to the add-on. You send fluid to the main machine. I have found though, when adding add-ons, you want to make sure you kind of open the GUI, because sometimes the machine doesn't recognize that there's an add-on attached to it until you've actually opened up the GUI. So in this case, I have the fluid pipe that is running into here, providing both of these with water. And then on this side, I have it running in, and you just right click here to pull out. If you want to disconnect a side, you just simply use the wrench. And I think I'm going to handle items either from the side or through the middle. I think the middle is going to be good. And then we can just output directly into a container. So now we just make packed wheat. Doesn't even really require all that much to be able to make. We'll throw that into the list, and then packed wheat is what we need here. So we'll grab packed wheat. Very weird ingredient. That's going to then get auto crafted. And we just have the regular pipes sending this into the first one. Once this fills up, which it most certainly will, this one will start running as well. And then it should be as easy as taking the items from here and sending it into this machine. Like so. And that should be making the plastic sheets that we need. We can throw this over here. Let's see what side we're looking at. West. We can use a puller upgrade, set it to west. That's going to pull anything from this machine into this one. And then out of this machine, we'll just make another pipe, I think. This can use any planks, right? Just any planks. Perfect. Throw that together. Place it down. This is where we do want to disconnect. And we just set that to pull out. And perfect, we have sheets. So now I can make the indirect compound and start working on that. So I think it might be easier just to simply send to the pulverizer. So this is the pulverizer, and it doesn't even have any extensions on it. We just simply send in the ingredient and it pumps it out. And I'm going to do this just like I did our other machine. We send the ingredient in with AE, and then we just simply throw it into the barrel with a pipe. Going to grab my ender pearl, toss that bad boy in there, and give it some power. This is going to start running. I'll just power it from the back here, even though this is a slot that we could add like a speed upgrade, for example. I don't know how necessary that's going to be because these are already running really quick. But do that. And look at there. So now we move into the laser. Well, kind of. We have to get the assembler set up first, which is a way that we can combine multiple things. We could do this on request crafting, but it might be better if we just constantly send ingredients to this. And this is why expanding on these might be a good idea, at least further down the road. So I will need an assembler. Looks like it does require the vanilla crafters, which I do not have auto crafted, which kind of makes sense. So the reason I need the assembler as of right now is to make the enderic lenses, and these are used for other components as well. I don't know though if I'm going to need a whole bunch of these after looking at this. Yield add-on is all I really need it for. The exo helmet, fuel generators. I mean, maybe I don't need to really automate this. So I think what I'm going to do is just simply use this assembler as of right now, or just simply crafting these things. Now this is a pretty cool multi-block, and it, I think, kind of looks like a shelf, right? And if I place it right here, I think it is directional. So it depends on where you place it, how you want this to be set up. Like if I place it here, for example, this will be the outside. I think this is going to be set up right. We do need some cores, and this one takes 3 cores, just like that. Click that together, and we get ourselves a fantastic workbench. Yes, I thought this was the way that it goes. So yes, the position you're looking at is going to kind of set it up kind of like it's a little workbench here. And inside it has 4 slots and it takes 4 different items. I think it also does matter where you put those items inside the assembler. And yeah, it then spits out a product. And looking at the recipe, the adamant, not adamantite, I keep calling it adamantite. I don't know why. It's too much Terraria, I think. We split those together, and I'm just going to let it craft 32 for now. Now, while I wait for this to generate, something I wanted to ask you guys, those of you who are more familiar with the Oritech mod, what's your favorite feature of the Oritech mod? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. So there we go, 32 of the lenses, and we now have the ability to make a laser, at least one of them. We can always make more of them, and I think the more of them you have, the faster you're going to be able to generate these things. But by default, well, it doesn't really do anything on its own. It still needs a core, just like everything else has needed a core. But once it's assembled, we then need to define where is this laser going to go. Oh my goodness, and I love that it follows you. Wait a minute. The fact that this thing follows you around just by default is wild. I love that. What a cool decoration piece. That's so neat. Now, the thing that we want to have it target is going to be a budding amethyst, and then specifically the amethyst clusters that grow off the side of it, which it will generate so long as it is connected to an amethyst bud. There's a couple of ways we can actually make amethyst. We could do infused crafting. That is one way we can do it. There's also an amethyst golem, which already requires you to have found a budding amethyst to make the golem. But yes, it over time could convert those into buds. It looks like there is a quest that gives you one after you get one. Pretty interesting. We can assemble one directly within the assembler, but it does require this overcharge, which is something that we're going to have to work towards anyways, and we would probably already need that in the first place, because this mod is typically used in an overworld environment. Then we also have block casting, which is going to be probably one of the easiest ways to do it. And we have this, yes, occultism. So yeah, the crystallizer spirit can convert it into one. There's also another way that's not mentioned in JEI, and we could just spawn in an island that is quite literally just a geode filled with them. And that's kind of how I want to do it, because I love the idea of just spawning this in and then tearing it all down and collecting all the resources. But yes, Tablet of Conjure Island geode right here, which is from the Ars Callium, I think that's how you say it, Callium mod. This is the one that adds all of the extra islands. But yeah, this is probably one of the easiest ways, and we just need a jar of source. Oh, and by the way, since we're outside of the main base, we just wanted to check in real quick on Steve, see how Steve is doing. Steve is doing mighty fine, as you can see over here. For those of you who are wondering how Steve was doing, there you go. Anyways, let's get back onto this. So I have a ritual brazier, and this is where we're going to use the Conjure Island. And then just next to it, we'll give it a full source jar, and it's just going to conjure the island right here. And look at this, an amethyst geode, just like that, where you have several of these buds that you can just steal. And at what cost? I mean, quite literally just a jar of source. That's it. So yes, I am going to surround these with cardboards, because unfortunately these are a few of the types of blocks that we can't actually break, like the other clusters. The other clusters we can just collect directly, but not these for some reason. But yeah, after getting this all cleaned up, we can get rid of it. It's also a pretty easy way of getting calcite and smooth basalt. And so up here, we can go ahead and place it down in. Now, this doesn't link up automatically. We are actually going to need a few things. So one of the specific things from Oritech, if I can get to Oritech here, is going to be a destination tool. We actually have to link it with this thing right here. Okay, the target destinator is going to require some of these precision units. Now, these are things we definitely want constantly being produced. Now, the processing units, we want to make sure we can evenly supply all of these ingredients constantly to this system. So that is going to require a crafting card because of a few materials like electrum that we're going to need. Like electrum, we do have in here. We need redstone, and we're also going to need these new components, the plastic sheets and the fibers. So carbon rods and plastic. And I hope I'm producing these fast enough. This is where I was saying, like, so long as I'm making them fast enough, this will constantly keep them in supply. But we'll place that in here, this in here, and it should go from left to right. And I'm hoping that the pipes work where they don't have a buffer. That makes a huge difference. Now, I probably want to grab a few of these out of here before I get them piped in, because I want to make sure this specifically goes in here. So fills items evenly. That's probably not what we want. We want to fill from left to right. And I don't know, will this automatically do that, or is it just going to, it depends on how it works, right? No, it's just going to automatically fill this. And then what was the next required item? We may have to use like something from the pipe mod. Potentially? Yeah, the first slot isn't even this. It should be the plastic, then this, then electrum, then redstone. Okay, is this pulling out everything? No, it only seems to be pulling out the first thing, which makes these pipes not useful to me. Now, the pipes mod, however, basically that's going to be a different story. So we'll take this, and so long as we have them in order, there we go. You can see this is going to kind of evenly distribute and fill these things up, and that's what we need to happen. Just like all of our setups this way, we want the north to be the direction that we set the puller to, and that's going to automatically pull the ingredients in. And look at that, we are ready to go. So now we should be able to easily make the target destinator. Yep, this is all the ingredients required to just make a little bit of steel real quick. And last but not least, oh, we need to request some electrum. Let's make sure that doesn't get used up. There we go. And target destinator. Okay, so do we define the target and then shift click on here? Yes. Okay. I defined the target. I shift clicked on the thing. We grab some gates and we just attach that to here, and that's going to get to work. Okay. And how long is this going to take? I'm assuming it will start producing them as soon as the crystals are formed, and then it starts targeting the crystal, and that literally generates it. Now, do these actually work on here? Like if I set this to go to the eastern direction, is this going to harvest even faster if we use something like this to generate it? Let's see. We want this to be targeting the east side, which is what it's doing. So it's forcing growth to happen on the east. I mean, this just alone, it's not even powered, and seems to be doing exactly that thing. Like, no, like it's literally not powered, but it is growing it really fast. Like, wait a minute. Like, let's break this. What? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it doesn't even need power. I just essentially tell this thing, hey, force all growth to happen on the east side. It just being attached here makes this more than fast enough. Well, like, I'm not even kidding. It seems like this was growing much faster while having these applied too. I don't know. But yeah, I decided to add the power to the bottom here. Turns out that's not really necessary either. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna place this down here, and I'm just gonna place this facing on the floor. And so I have to break this like that, get that placed on the floor, just set the direction, and then we will be good to go. Also, by the way, it just breaks blocks. I just found that out. Like, I don't know why, but it just started breaking my glass. That's not good. So yeah, don't put this next to anything really important and then also accidentally break the amethyst bud. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Okay. So I think what I'll do is I'll place that now. I have that running. I moved it back so that way I can just put my drawer right here and then we can just pipe directly out of it. It's now the point where I start upgrading some of these machines. I mean, this seems fast enough as of right now, but I definitely need to upgrade this one. Just throw some more power on there. And I also accelerated these. So I added the one acceleration slot upgrade that we can put on here for now. There is actually an extender that we can use once we have, I think, the higher tier frame. And that extender allows us to put even more add-ons for these simple machines that simply just don't have a lot of space on them for add-ons. But I mean, this centrifuge now, just look how fast it's going with just 2 of these on here. Now, even though I got all of this set up, it's just really cool to show how this actually works. In this pack, we do have ways of making it a whole lot faster. Like, we can just do the energizing orb to generate this. I probably will do that if it becomes an issue and we start to need way more than I'm currently generating. But I mean, this should be generating just fine. Yeah, it's already maxed out right now because I forgot to toggle that. Now back to some more complex things. I was looking at some of the other things that we are going to eventually need. For example, we are going to need an atomic forge. That is something that we are going to need to have set up. And we need to generate these flux gates. And these require the assembler, they require some platinum, and they require some of that fluxite, but also the processing unit. That's why I accelerated my machines over here with those add-ons to make it a bit faster so they can process them a bit faster. And then I'm hoping, because I accelerated this one with the add-on, that we're producing more than the base speed that this is going to be running at will produce these. We just need them to just continue making them as we go on. Now, I was thinking, you know what, I still have enough space in this ME interface that I could just put the interface right here, I think. And then we can just run our pipe from there. That should be able to work just fine. So I'm going to copy the settings by holding down shift and right clicking, copy that into the memory card, and then I can place this ME device here, right click, and all of the settings from this is now copied over into here. So I should be able to break that and then just make sure our pipe is reconfigured to continue pulling out of here. And that saves us 1 channel just by doing that. And then I have, 4 more slots or 3 more slots that I can use for this machine. And let's see, like this. And if we don't give it any power, it makes it a little bit easier to set up. So we do all of this before we get power, unlike the way I did the other machine. Take our item pipe, and then we can set that. And we do want to take these ingredients and make sure that it is going to keep those in constant supply, not 32. Let's make sure that is just set to 1 for now. And just like that, we should be ready to give this some power and get this connected up as well. So I'll just slap on one of those. That's going to constantly run, produce the things we need, and that should easily fill up as soon as I put that in. Now, I know I'm pretty late into this, but I actually just realized that while I was looking at some of these machines, it says hold Alt to open. I really wish that was colored because I completely missed that for the tooltip. And whenever you hold Alt, it pulls up the actual guide, just like Applied Energistics or many of the other mods, that talks about all of the individual components and has a really nice looking guide for it. Now, after reading the guide, I think it's going to be necessary for us to start producing a few things. Now, this right here, the wow, if I can say that correctly, Durantium. The Durantium has a couple of different ways we can make it. The primary way looks like through the foundry. It takes a little bit of time. We can passively generate that. There's also reinforced carbon sheets that can be used inside of the atomic forge to make this. Also takes 10 seconds. Just seems like a weird thing to do. But these machine extenders allow us to branch off the machine, giving us more places to place add-ons, which would be kind of nice. Now, even though we have the ability to create those add-ons, we probably will still need a higher tier cores for our machines like this. I think that is another limiting factor on our add-ons. But here's the beautiful foundry. It kind of looks like a little train almost. Now, I kind of want to stick to the picture, right? I want to continue doing this way. So we have essentially unlimited netherite. That is not a problem at all. We dive on into this. So we need platinum being sent to this and netherite. So I'll just pull out a stack of platinum and we can craft a bunch of netherite real quick. And we just have so much of it. I'm going to take some of this, and then I want to place an exporter, just a regular exporter on the system here. And I still want to send this to a drawer. I think that's just a fun way to visualize everything. And so inside of the machine, we'll place these 2 ingredients in. set this to place these two and make sure it's export to round robin mode. And that should be just about all we need. Oh yeah, that's right. We do need a crafting card for this. I really should have netherite just like set up to automatically keep a certain amount in stock, however. So you know what? I'm definitely going to get that done. Over here on our ME requester, let's just go ahead and place this in. And how much do we want to keep in stock? That is going to be a question. Let's toggle that. Submit changes so we can adjust the amount. I mean, we're going to say keep at least 2,056. I'm going to keep that with this number. And batch size, we can say do a request of 64 of them. Then I'll make sure to toggle that on, and that will continue toggling batches of 64 items requested for netherite constantly, and that should start building up over time. And then what we could do is we can actually remove this crafter card from here, because we really won't need that, considering we're going to have that constantly in supply now. Now, of course, on this ingot, we could use literally the Ender IO alloy smelter to be able to make this stuff, but I just wanted to play around with some of the tools from the mod. I mean, these things look so neat. I gotta hand it to them. The sound design, oh, that is so satisfying. So you know what? I could always use more of the sheeting. So I've made some of these machine extenders. If they turn pink, then they're not supposed to work. I'm wondering why this one is working, but this one shows pink right here. Maybe it's because this is adjacent to it. There it goes. That actually worked. So yeah, I think it was something to do with that being connected to this machine, because now it works. But there we go. But if I go to add a certain amount, you'll notice that it turns pink. So this is related to the tier of the core. So this is kind of how this whole mod works. And I'm kind of learning all of this as I go. So Oritech, you know how we were adding those cores? They tier all the way up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we are currently using the improve, which is the third tier in the list. And per tier, it looks like you can add an extra machine extender. And so the higher core you have overall on your machine, the more extenders you can have. And that means the more upgrades you can put on this bad boy. So in this particular case, I can have up to 3, and we can actually cover this with these upgrades. And so if I do this, I could make it a bit more efficient to be able to extend these a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, these things start going really fast. I do notice the animations kind of stop on them, which is kind of odd once they get so fast. But that is completely maxed out. And I kind of want to do the same thing to this side. But there we go. So I've got this extended up. I mean, this one isn't maxed out in the back, but these actually produce a bit faster than these do. And look at that. Are we really using more power than our points can send in? No way. I think this is something to do with, we also have to have upgrades in here that affect the efficiency of the machines. And wouldn't you know it, we have some efficiency upgrades that might allow these to accept more power or hold it a bit more effectively. Oh, definitely not. Oh, they're definitely able to keep up. Like, this is bouncing back and forth. It looks like it's not, but it's definitely running. Holy smokes, these are running. Oh, this is actually kind of fun. I'm like really liking the way this mod is set up, and doing it this way where you have it like these basic materials in constant supply, I think is going to make this feel a lot nicer. So I think we can go ahead and make the atomic forge. So let's do that. And I'm wondering if I'm even going to need more than one of these atomic forges. If I place this here, it doesn't look like much, but it gets surrounded with cores. And so we take like, we can even do the basic core. No, we need to do the improved cores, right? So I'll request a few more of those. We'll surround it just like all the other machines. Activate it. It lays out. That's so sick. Oh, all of these advanced block animations are so neat. And now we have the atomic forge, but this does require a few more things. I mean, it even lists here how this is supposed to be set up, or we can open up the guide here and you can see that we power this by apparently aiming the lasers at it. And I'm assuming these 4 points are the way we would do that. And so like having possibly 4 of these lasers on here would be the way to go. But I mean, looking at it, it does say must be powered by an indirect laser. And so I don't know if I can have more than one, but it shows more than one set up here. So I mean, maybe if I add it like this on the sides and then have them all like pointed to this. I wonder if they automatically attach. Probably not. I wouldn't think. It is so weird when they all point to you, though. I love this new feature. Okay, can we set a target, though? Like, if I right-click here, maybe I can shift right-click, store to position, right-click, and then we do that as well here. Shift right-click, shift right-click. Now we're storing all of those locations to here, and I'm assuming these can be used to break blocks too, because, I mean, since it did break those blocks in the direction it was facing, I'm guessing you could target any block and these could break it. I should really read the documentation more. Oh, wow. You can even add a hunter add-on and allow these to quite literally kill mobs. They will seek out mobs. That's sick. And there's a filter too that can avoid killing baby animals, so you can use this in some sort of mob farm, like for cows or such. Okay, so we have this all set up. I'm going to place in some power on this bad boy. And this is how our recipes are going to get powered for this forge. So let's dive deeper into some things. So for example, the Manhattan module is one of the things we need, and we need the Heisenberg compensator. It all sounds super advanced, but the Heisenberg compensator is just one of the things in the list that we need to go through. So to get this, we need a super AI chip. To get the super AI chip, we need advanced computing engines, and then we need the Durathium ingot, which we're already producing. So how do we get the supercomputing engine? Well, it's another craft here that requires silicon wafers, and then the processing unit that we already have passively being crafted. So silicon wafers. All right, well, that's the next step. How do we make those? Very, very easy. Carbon fiber and just some silicon, and that gets produced. So it looks like we take in 3 different items whenever we do this, but I kind of need to know if I'm going to set up patterns for processing with Applied Energistics to be able to do these processes, I need to figure out exactly how this thing handles items being inserted into it. Best way to figure that out is literally with a hopper, because a hopper is going to tell me which slot things go into first. Now I want to test if I place anything in here, will it try to accept it? Okay, so notice it went in there. So the next item that went in goes into the same spot. Okay, what if it's a separate item that's not the same? Where does that go? Okay, so it goes from here, and I'm assuming then the next item that will go in is going to be in the bottom slot. So whenever we define our patterns from Applied Energistics for things like this, this is where things get a little bit more advanced under the processing patterns. So to be able to set up a pattern like this, we need it to essentially go, hey, send the first item, which is going to be this. This is the first thing the pattern provider is going to try to send. And so that'll be the thing that is in the first slot here. And then it's going to need to send the other ingredients, and it works from left to right. And then it moves down, works from left to right. So whatever order you need the items to be in, so this slot, and this slot, we have to make sure that we go here, here, and here. Otherwise, the pattern provider will send it differently. It will always prioritize from left to right, or at least in my experience, it does. So I'm middle mouse click here to set it to 2. That pattern, honestly, already configured correctly, which is exactly what I want. And I should be able to add a pattern provider on here, but we would also want a way to send the items back. And I'm hoping that I can just like use a subnet with AE and just simply feed the items back into itself from here. And I hope that doesn't sound weird, like I said, when I said using a little subnet, but honestly, I still find that to be the best way to do this. We'll do an import bus. That way we make sure that it kind of reads on itself. And so we'll have an importer here and an interface or a storage bus. That way we give our subnet a storage because the importer won't work without a storage. And this connecting here doesn't actually connect to this network. So this is a separate network. And we can add a cable here and then just add a cable here. Now it is currently connected and not doing exactly what we want it to do. So that's why we need a fiber to just simply send the power, but also disconnect this from this. So this now is powered. It's going to work as an import, and it's also going to send it back into the pattern provider. So we can make sure that we only do one craft at a time, specifically because I want to use locking mode. So lock until primary crafting result is returned, especially when doing these complex crafts that we're about to do inside of here, requiring these very specific slots. So let's see, can I craft a wafer? And request this. Let me put this pattern that we just made right here into the pattern provider. And then let's see if this works. Okay, and it did, and it crafted the wafer but it didn't automatically pull it out, which has me a little bit worried with how this is going to work. There's the import bus, there's the storage bus. This should work. Craft is locked. Huh. All right, I'm going to disable this for right now. Let's just see. Can we even hopper out of here? Because that will determine a lot. So yeah, already I'm seeing I cannot pull from here. Where exactly does this interact with things? I mean, can we pull from the side of this? It's just the bottom we can't, I'm assuming. Oh, wait, I was able to pull from here. Just wasn't able to pull from here. Oh my goodness, I'm a complete goof. Because I didn't realize, I thought it was in the center of this thing. No, I was trying to pull out of this laser. Of course that's not going to work. Okay, so I'll just do the same thing that I just did, but on the other side, and that should complete this project. So yes, importer over here on a subnet, bus against this. There we go. I was just looking at that from the wrong perspective. Okay, so now when I request a wafer, it crafts and it completes. Oh, and it happens so fast with these on here. So technically I should be able to build all of these. And now that I know that it goes from near here to here, I know that when I actually build the patterns for these, we just got to make sure that it is in this configuration. And then this is going to be so easy with AE. Oh, this is great. Okay. And then what about the next one? Well, of course I have those ingredients. That's going to be the same. And voila, there we go. And then the last but not least, we do the Heisenberg. Okay. Oh, not this recipe. We don't want the unholy intelligence module. That's a different recipe. We want the super AI chip version. Nice. Now, how hard is it for us to get each of those stages? So Oritech, and then I request, like, I don't know, the advanced compute chip. How quick is that? Okay, that's pretty fast and not too bad to have on requests like this. What about super AI chip? Is there a point where this takes a bit more power and takes a lot longer to do? I mean, it's processing one at a time. It's a little bit longer to do it this way. Okay, this one's taking a bit longer, as you can see, to charge up. And then, okay, we have the super AI chip. This requires one of those. And then also it requires the adamant ingot, which we just simply craft. Okay, I think we're ready. We can literally make a Heisenberg module. What? I wonder if the more of these lasers too we add to the system, the faster it's going to craft overall. I would assume that that'd be the case. But looky there, the Heisenberg compensator. We now can craft it. Of course, I've got to test this out. This already looks wild with all these lasers on here. And so let's request another Heisenberg. Oh yeah, that definitely seems like it's charging up much faster. It's only the later ones that seem to be a problem. It receives its charge very quickly. Very, very quickly now. Oh boy. Now, just when you thought we were almost done, I still want to get another laser setup going. And I think what I can do is I could place another directional here. We can have two different crystals going because I also want to use a Uranite geode for the laser, because this is how we're going to be able to produce the, what is this? Plutonium? That's going to be required here, because to get plutonium dust, all of this other stuff is really easy, but plutonium dust requires Uranite crystals, and to get Uranite crystals, we should be able to get it from a Uranite geode. So something like this should do the trick. So those are going to constantly be produced, and that is producing the shards. Huh. What if I target this specifically? Okay. But I don't think that that's doing what I want it to do. Wait, now what if I do this differently though? Like I have this accelerated and I just have it destroying this block without going back to the geode. Like if I do something like this where I move the things around, I use my target destination card, target this, and then send that. Does this require a special module or something? Oh, wow, this completely took me for a trip. No, okay, so this requires a entirely different crystal, Uranite crystal, which we don't have a geode for, but we have a very specific bud that we can make, and then it needs to break this bud. And this would be something that you would typically find underground. So now after seeing that, it's another thing I actually need to add into my module here, which is kind of interesting. So I actually have more use for this than I originally thought. I do have to modify a few things though to make this work even better. What we're going to do is we are going to use a energy distributor module, which is going to allow me to send to multiple. We're going to transfer power out of the router. So to do this, we will go ahead and place a crafter down here. And then I am going to click this one and this one. That is the two things that need to receive power. So I'm going to swap that into that. It was weird. That kind of disappeared. But this will now start to receive some power, which is what we want. And then as far as pulling goes out of the machine, well, that is going to require me to actually break the machines because these do need to be pulled from the bottom, I believe. So yes, the puller module, not going to be the thing that I need anymore. I'm going to take this with me. It holds all of its stuff, by the way, but we'll take this and we want to transfer into router. And so we'll select the bottom of both of those. And later on, if we need to modify this, we can always modify that. But placing that right back is going to get the job done. And there we go. So that should pull the items out of here. At least so I hope. And then send back out like it's supposed to. Once I throw some speed upgrades in there, I can definitely see that now happening. Just got to set my pattern, which was 2 uranium, uranite, and then that. And then we hit shift. And that should have it selected, or at least the recipe. I think that's the recipe, right? It's a 1-time sand. This is a 2-time sand. Okay. Gonna switch that to a 1-time sand. While it's crafting, I hit shift. I think I saved it. Oh no, I don't think I did. I'll definitely get it this time. Okay, so now it is stored and selected and saved. Perfect. And now it's as simple as placing this up top, making sure we have like 2 uranium that go in here, the shard, and then one of those that'll send all of the ingredients and should automate the process of generating these for me. And so voila, we can use this system for multiple things, which I think is a good thing to know. I didn't even realize this. So now we just need to get this into the world. And you may think that, well, just taking this and putting it in here might actually work. It doesn't exactly work that way. So what we are actually going to need to do is make a subnet, or because how it actually works is by using like an importer on a inventory. And then basically you're saying, hey, import into the world with this formation plane. But there is actually a thing from Extended AE that is an active, which is kind of interesting, an active version of this formation plane. And this is a pretty neat device, by the way. It kind of works like the refined storage one. Kind of works the way that you would expect it to work, where you just filter an item you want it to send out, and it just does it. And so this version is significantly easier to understand, I think. So we'll place the active here, and then we place this in, and that should still place in the world, but I think there is actually an issue with fake players potentially placing items in the world. So we may have to fix this. What I can do is go in here and let's say, am I in a claimed chunk? And I'm actually not in a claimed chunk. So I'm actually not sure why the formation plane isn't forming it unless it can't actually place these crystals in the world. I don't know. Maybe it needs a block to be placed on to place it. Ah, it does. Okay. So yeah, it just simply needs a block to place it on. Very nice. And so with that, we just want to link this to this. And I place this block because I'm unsure if it can actually break obsidian. So I guess the only thing left to do is put a gate on here and see if this functions correctly. Okay, it broke it. And it did gather the thing, but also, oh gosh. Did it just... It's not breaking these blocks, is it? Why is it going all rogue? What? Okay, so after a little bit of help from Panda over on the Discord, he did recommend like maybe using budding amethyst here. So I did that, place it here so that way it doesn't go through this. It actually doesn't break this block. I don't know why I didn't think about that. And then make sure this is set to only expel the cluster out this way, prevent this cluster from going anywhere. And it's working. It is completely working. There is the dust leading out. Oh, and it is automated. That is exactly what I wanted to see. So now I can fix the holes that this thing caused, and it would have broken any other machine that I would have placed in here. Now I think the only other thing left to do is just take that and turn it into pellets. So we just need to set up another assembler. We'll just throw it together over here. And with a singular puller card set to north, I think we just about have it, right? Or at least maybe, no, it needs to be pulling from the south side. So we just set that to south, and we have plutonium pellets. And you know what? I think this is just about everything. I mean, that is at least required for all the mods star. We have the Manhattan module, which I kind of actually want to utilize maybe next episode, which will be kind of fun. So we have the Manhattan module that we can now make. As we have the TNT, we can easily make Heisenberg compensators. And then we also need superconductors. This is just another assembler that requires everything that we've already made. The dubious containers can hold mobs, I do believe. These are pretty neat as well, and very easy for us to just craft. We have all of these components ready to go. And then we also need a large energy storage. Also just requires another container and components that we already have. Now the Energirite, something like that. This can be easily made either by alloying, or we can use the energizing orb, and I might just use the energizing orb for that, because that's going to be really fast to generate. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, that's basically all of those components. Superconductors seem really easy to make. All of this seems quite simple to put together. I mean, this is fantastic. Okay, so I have superconductors now being automated just like that. I mean, that was really easy to get set up. And then over here, I now have the ability to make the energy storage. So we can definitely make one of those. And that should take like quite literally a second, right, to craft. I think it just waits on, yeah, it just waits on those things to be done. Okay, and then we can grab one of these out. There's the superconductors. Perfect. And then anything else that's required? Oh yeah, the Manhattan module itself. Now these I do actually want to use. Like this might actually help us next episode find unobtainium. I kind of want to use these. This is a huge explosive, by the way. Super huge. But yeah, I can just simply request this, assuming that I have TNT. So let's craft TNT. Haven't really had a need for that to be auto-crafted just yet. Look at all this stuff, by the way. It's slowly filling up for the auto-crafts. But there we go. I request this. It starts the craft. It puts everything together. Okay, it wiggles. Oh, the wiggling is kind of awesome. But yeah, it starts to wiggle really fast depending on what's being crafted in there, I think. Oh my goodness. After a brief moment, I now have the Manhattan module. I definitely don't want to place this in the base. Don't place it in the base at all. Honestly, I don't even like it being in my inventory. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you learned something new with me about Oritech and how to kind of progress through here and at least get these base things done. There's actually a lot to this mod. There's drones, there's all kinds of other things that can help you move items around. Pretty interesting. Maybe one day I'll end up playing a pack that may be more built around this mod, so I learn even more about it. But until then, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and give this video a huge thumbs up if you did. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And well, comment down below. Of course, don't forget what's your favorite feature that is added from Oritech. I would love to hear from you in the comments. And without further ado, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Blottles VA. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and just supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. You absolute boss. I thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching.